Well, good evening, WNBA and women's basketball fans. Glad to be back with you folks. We apologize for kind of the late notices about last week, but we did have some things pop up, though, during the last part of last week, but we apologize for only having a couple shows last week. But with that, folks, good evening, WNBA and women's basketball fans, and welcome into the WNBA 365 Network, your 24/7 365 comprehensive home for everything revolving around the WNBA and the rest of the women's basketball universe. Back with you folks beginning week 6 already of the 2016 WNBA season. Welcome in, folks, to tonight's program, an edition of WNBA 365 beginning week 6 for Monday night, June the 20th, 2016, the unofficial last day of the spring season. Good evening, folks. Alongside Crystal Thomas and Tanisha Stewart, both up in Los Angeles. We will be joined, hopefully, sometime soon by Marquez Anderson from the Product Spurs Network. Cal McClurg rejoining you folks here, or joining you folks, I should say, from Studio 171 here in San Diego. KT and Shorty, good to see you guys. Be back with you guys. How's it going tonight?
Hot, but it's good.
Same thing as Crystal said, but I'm good.
Yeah, we're all dealing with the heat wave here, folks, as the summer celeste hits tomorrow. Of course, folks, Facebook and Twitter are open for you folks, along with our live chat box. So hit us up either on Facebook at facebook.com/WNBA365 or any of us on Twitter. It's at WNBA365, at Calamac3, at ShortyMamba24, at Pup1010, or at O Marquez with the hashtag WNBA365. Or, of course, if you're viewing us live, hit up our live chat box. We'll get to your commentary, questions, comments, concerns during the course of the program when there is a break in the action. All right, guys, we'll look over the Saturday scoreboard and talk about a few headlines, and then we'll get down to the big matchup of the WNBA season that is occurring tomorrow in Los Angeles. Over the Saturday scoreboard first, Washington over Atlanta, 95-65 for the Mystics' first win at home this 2016 season, and in a thrilling triple overtime contest, Dallas edges Phoenix 117-111 in a triple overtime affair from Talking Stick Resort Arena. Games from Sunday and Father's Day Sunday. Sun edged the Stars 93-90, Liberty over the Fever 78-75, and the Lynx go to 12-0 on the season, 96-84, Lynx over Seattle from Key Arena. So, Shorty, we'll start off quickly with the Atlanta and Washington game. Now, again, that was a game played that saw Atlanta coming off a back-to-back. But sadly, though, the dream kind of came out a bit slow and sluggish, and then Washington beating them by 30, but also, again, Shorty, their first home win of the season. Shorty, what's your overall thoughts about Washington's first home win of the year over ATL?
Well, I guess they finally broke the curse at the Verizon Center, finally getting their first win. But I will say, earlier, this week in an article, Angel McCoughtry did complain about, the schedule and having back-to-backs and things like that. And she said she, would like to have that eliminated because that definitely played a part into, their match versus Washington. They were just coming off a back-to-back, so then they had to immediately go to Washington, and yes, they got blown out. You can tell that they were tired, didn't have enough energy. They were getting blown out. Michael Cooper got really ticked off and got ejected from the game, and the Mystics just started off hot and never looked back. It was bad. If I can recall, it was like 70 to 40, 42, 43. So, yes, that game was really bad for the Dream. Very great for the Mystics, and they're hoping to continue to go on the roll at the Verizon Center.
Crystal, for one deal again, this is the Mystics' first home court win of the season. So those fans are pretty, I'd say pretty impatient, I guess, with them, again, not winning at home for a bit. But, again, winning the game, though, by 30 over a very talented Atlanta team. And, Crystal, I don't want to take anything away from Washington, again, about Atlanta coming off that back-to-back. But, again, to beat anybody by 30 points in this league is pretty spectacular, regardless of who you're playing or who you are playing-wise. But, Crystal, what are your overall thoughts, then, about the Sticks winning their first home game of the year, again, over Atlanta?
The Sticks. but I mean, finally they get for them a good quality win. I mean, Washington has just been pretty terrible, to say the least. Good coach, but just a terrible team. But I think for Washington, that is a win that they will look at and they'll get a little bit of confidence. They'll build on it, but how far will they build? We don't know because, like you said, Washington just isn't that great of a team this year.
Now, Shorty, I wanted to actually quickly go back to that point you just brought up again about Angel McCoughtry voicing her opinion again about the back-to-back situation in the WNBA. Now, again, folks, this is not your cozy comfort type of back-to-backs in the WNBA. This is nothing like Major League Baseball playing 3 games a weekend or 4-game series is, or in the NBA's case, Shorty. You know, there's a lot of disadvantages that we already know with the WNBA, but again, Shorty, this, though, I think was a pretty interesting talking point again because, you know, as I just brought up again, this, you know, they don't have the luxury or the funds or the mulu, you know, to able to charter a late-night flight or red-eye flight out of their local airport to get to their next destination. Again, these teams fly coach. They fly like we do, you know, of course, when we travel across the country. Shorty, as you kind of think about this, and I believe that Angel is onto something, but what are your thoughts, though, about, again, WNBA back-to-backs, like I said as well? You know, this isn't, you know, your cozy, comfortable, you know, regular, you know, a touchy-feely type of back-to-back situation.
I mean, in regards to this season, which is an Olympic year, you know, the back-to-backs will pretty much, you know, be spread out, so it's not as bad. But during, you know, a regular year, of course, they really do pack on the back-to-backs. If I could recall, I think LA had a total of 3 back-to-backs last year, so it's definitely an interesting, you know, argument to bring up. But in my opinion, for the league to eliminate back-to-backs, you know, they would have to then open up the schedule for Monday. They would have to start playing on Monday to eliminate, you know, those back-to-backs because you can't eliminate a back-to-back on what, a 6-day schedule. That's not going to work out. So for the league to look into, you know, reworking the schedule, they would have to open up the schedule for Monday.
Crystal, Todd Mintz brings up an excellent point I want to get to. He says Angel's comments need to go in one ear and out the other. She is known to pound and whine from time to time. The fact is not that many times you have to play back-to-backs. She gets paid handsomely to be one of the top players and a leader for that team. Crystal, I agree. You know, I mean, obviously we see Major League Baseball go through a 3 or 4 game series, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then a 3-game series normally. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then the NBA also does back-to-backs. The NHL does back-to-backs. You know, so I mean, probably other than Major League Soccer, where they do maybe a couple days in between games. For instance, for any LA Galaxy fans out there, they play or will be playing Wednesday and Saturday this week at home, and then on the road on Saturday. But Crystal, I think that the WNBA, as Shorty brought up again, you know, they don't have that luxury though of chartering those late night flights. So if you're going to play in, you know, for instance, play in Los Angeles one night, you know, you have to fly the next morning out of LAX to go and play in Phoenix or in Seattle, and it can take a toll though. But again, Crystal, you know, these outfits I think, you know, are pretty tough enough to suck up that early morning flight and get to their next destination. But Crystal, what are your thoughts though again about possibly WNBA removing back-to-backs from the schedule?
I don't think they should remove it. Like you said, back-to-backs are in all sports. The only thing I think they should probably fix is probably the travel for a back-to-back. And like Shorty said, if they remove back-to-backs, they're going to have to start playing games on Mondays, which are generally mostly travel days anyway. But I think they should keep the back-to-backs. I think they should just fix the way that the travel for back-to-backs are handled. I mean, I think it is kind of crazy that you fly in wherever you're going the morning of the game. That can take a toll on the body. But, you know, the reason why I also think back-to-back should stay, when you play AAU ball, it's ultimately back-to-back. Like, you have a game 5 hours after your first game sometimes. So it's pretty much the same thing. I mean, there's been times when we used to sleep in the middle of a game on the court of another person's game because we had a game, you know, 2 to 3 hours later. So it's not so much the back-to-backs that should be eliminated. I think the travel of how you get to your back-to-back should probably be fixed.
We now, folks, welcome in our good buddy and good man, Marquez Anderson from the Project Spurs Network. So, Marquez, again, we were kind of deliberating again about recent comments made by Angel McCoughtry from the Atlanta Dream again about the WNBA and their back-to-back scheduling. Again, Atlanta had played a night game at home the previous night and then traveled and flew from Atlanta International or from Atlanta's airport to Washington, D.C. to play the Mystics that afternoon. Again, that was a pretty early start time, I want to say, for that game on Sunday. It was a noon start for us West Coast at 3 o'clock Eastern. And again, Marquez, as I've already said, though, again, but the WNBA, as we know, does not have a lot of advantages in regards to chartered flights or red-eye flights to the next city they're playing in again. And Todd Mintz said again that the comments have to be put in one ear and out the other because pro athletes of any sport should be able to deal with the back-to-back situation. Marquez, what are your thoughts though? Again, we've already heard about Shorty and KT saying that they have to open the schedule up to playing on Monday if they want to kind of eliminate those back-to-backs. But three of us say they should keep the back-to-back scheduling. But what do you say?
Yeah, I think they should keep it too, because like Crystal said, when I was playing soccer, there would be some times where we'd have tournaments and we'd play 2 to 3 games in a day. So you don't really have much time to rest and recover from that either. So I'm kind of thinking that maybe if they are going to eliminate back-to-backs, then like you said, it has to be on Monday. But I think they should just keep them all together, but make the back-to-backs make more sense geographically. Like, don't have someone going from New York and then the next day have them playing in Seattle the next day. If you're going to do that, have them closer, like have someone go from New York to Connecticut in a back-to-back, or have them go to the 2 Texas cities more so than having them fly across country, because that just doesn't make sense to me.
Guys, 10 years ago, I won my first of 2 championships when I was playing travel baseball. We were in New York and we won this thing. But the day that we won the title, we had to play 4 different games, all single elimination playoff games, to go to the championship game, which also had a rain delay involved in the title game and lasted into the for the East Coast, like the late night hours on the East Coast. And there was times where we would eat and then take a brief nap and stuff. But I think though that all of us here agree in regards that that I think that there should be no elimination of it, because Shorty, that'd be like, or guys, that'd be just like Major League Baseball again. I hate to bring up other sports in this, but in this case, for instance, the Padres had just played the Nationals from Washington D.C. in a 4-game series, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The Padres are now going to Baltimore, but they had today off to travel over there. It wasn't a case of them leaving after the game and flying into Baltimore or vice versa or whatnot. So that's one deal, but there should be no way, I think, that the WNBA should be removing back-to-backs, because if the NBA does it, then the WNBA might as well do it as well. Guys, one quick question from one of our panel members, not on with us tonight, of course, from Eric Nimchok of today's Fast Break. Shorty, he wants you to give us your thoughts on how Morgan Tuck's impact so far for Connecticut lately.
In regards to Morgan Tuck, I think definitely she's playing much better. I think her minutes have increased. So she's doing better overall individually, but it's just the team is still stuck in muddy waters. But in regards to Morgan Tuck, I definitely think she's improving game by game.
Crystal, what do you think about this? Again, give us your thoughts on Morgan Tuck and how she's been and the impact she's made for CT as of late.
I think she's helped out a lot. I think she's getting more comfortable. She's still a rookie, so there's still more comfortability issues that have to be worked out. But I think once she starts to figure it out, once she starts to slow the game down a little bit for her, to a WNBA standpoint, I think Connecticut will be better. I don't know if they'll get significantly better as far as they're going to just jump into the playoffs sometime soon, but I think Connecticut will definitely get better.
And Marquez, how about your thoughts on how Morgan Tuck has made an impact for the Sun as of late?
Yeah, she's definitely starting to figure it out some. I know she has been really working hard at trying to be more versatile and do more things on the court for them. And you can kind of see it coming through her play. But even though she's doing well, I don't think that is going to really translate to many more wins for them, even though they did beat us the other day. Still really angry about that one. But they need it, because, they don't – it's not like they're not a talented team, but they're just still trying to figure out the system, and you can kind of see it when they play. But for her to come up big for them as of late, it's going to really be huge.
And Todd Mintz about this, he actually replied to Eric's question. He says, quiet but making slow progress while she is only averaging 19 minutes a game. Yesterday when CT got hot against San Antonio, it was more of Bentley, Ogumake, Jones, and Thomas with their double-double. Over the last week, there has been some incredibly exciting games throughout the W. The Stars and Suns game was very good. He's waited all year for CT to explode like they did. in the game yesterday. But Shorty, we have a late night game to get to from Saturday. It was Dallas and Phoenix, round 1 of 3 between the Wings and Mercury from Talking Stick Resort Arena. And a game that lasted 3 hours and 2 minutes, triple overtime, 4 players fouling out for the Mercury. Dallas wins the game 117-111. Of course, Shorty, before we get to anything about the game, of course, the major headline and still talking point of this game, of course, was the first game, of course, between Dallas and Phoenix, of course, which was the first game as well between both Brittany Griner and Glory Johnson after the pretty rough offseason those two had. And, of course, Shorty, the press and media sadly made that more of a talking point than Dallas coming back being down 17 points and 4 Mercury players, Griner, Taurasi, Quinn, and Dupree, all fouling out in the game, either in the fourth quarter, the first overtime, the second overtime, or the third overtime. Shorty, sadly, all the off-the-court nonsense was more of the big talking point. But, Shorty, what is the big talking point, though, in your mind from Dallas's incredibly awesome 3-overtime victory over Phoenix on Saturday night?
The big talking point was Skylar Diggins. I mean, her, coming back from an ACL injury, and everyone, was wondering, how she was going to, work herself not only to the offense, but just her own personal flow and things like that. And I say Skylar Diggins is officially back because she played great. Just looking at some stats from her, I mean, she shot 42% shot from the field, shot 60% from 3. I mean, that is definitely good on her part to, eventually come back. And in her stats alone, she dropped 27 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. I mean, it was definitely, big on Skylar Diggins' part. And she came up big during, those OT moments, just making big plays, not being afraid to go at Griner, go at Dupree in the post and things like that. So I'd say this was definitely a big comeback game for Skylar Diggins.
Crystal, again, let me just put this into context, folks, real quick. Now, my parents and I had gone out to dinner on Saturday for Father's Day, so I ordered a thing from Black Angus for dessert. It was literally a plate-sized full cookie. Crystal, it took me all 3 overtime periods to finish eating. I was done with the cookie when the final buzzer sounded. That was how long, but how epic this game was on Saturday between the Wings and Mercury. But, of course, Crystal, we know, again, we'll get to this momentarily again. But more so the big talking point, again, was the first matchup between Glojo and BG following the 2015 offseason nonsense. But, Crystal, what is the bigger talking point, I guess, or the bigger picture in this game in regards to, again, Dallas winning the game on the basketball court in your mind?
What is the bigger talking point? Dallas winning the game. To be honest, I mean, there was nothing really significantly there. I mean, I think all of us knew nothing was really going to happen. They're both professional. Other than that horrible technical foul call on Glory, which I still don't understand what that was for. I mean, there was nothing there. I mean, it was just a regular basketball play. On purpose. Glory was trying to check to see if her headband was still on because she fell, but it was nothing. There was no punches thrown or anything, so I don't understand where that tech came from. But other than that, I mean, the talking point is just that Dallas won. I mean, they won. It was a good game. I mean, I guess you could also say another talking point was Phoenix blew it. Phoenix can't hold on to leads, and we've seen that. There's something really going on in that team. Like, that locker room is mentally something's wrong with them. But honestly, just Dallas winning the game overall should be the talking point.
Shorty, Todd actually does bring up one play that happened earlier in the game. Now, again, I only got back in time to see the last of the fourth quarter and all 3 overtime periods. But Todd just put this in the chat box saying there was a point where Griner could not block a shot from Johnson, and he thought she had given her extra body English to drive her down to the floor. He said not accusing nor starting trouble, but he thought it was a fairly dirty play when this instant occurred. I saw a still shot of it, but I don't know if there was really any malicious intent. But Shorty, what do you think or make about this situation from the game on Saturday?
Is he talking about the play in regards to Glory and Brittany?
Yes.
Yeah, I did see that play, and I didn't see any malicious, thing going on Glory's part. I think she was just simply making a play, driving through the lane for a layup, and Griner, trying to block it,
Like
and
always.
yes,
Pretty much.
and committing a foul. So it was a foul, but that technical foul on Glory, I just didn't see it, and it was just overall, the refs overreacting. You could tell that the refs were prepped about, Glory and BG, yeah, situation prior to the game. So when any little detail of contact happened, they just overreacted for no reason.
Crystal, what do you think with this play again? I know that we saw Glojo get banged with a technical with a tech during this instance again, so maybe some small overreaction. But I believe though that Shorty was honest, though, saying though that the league officials may have been warned or informed or briefed about any type of anything involving those two. Make some type of call, I guess, or keep them separated for as long as you can. But Crystal, what do you make of the play though, and why?
I think a small overreaction is not the proper word. They overreacted. They made it seem as if we're gonna put this in Secret Service terms. They made it seem as if the president had walked in and they saw like a sniper on the roof. Like they just completely went crazy. I mean, yeah, I agree. Sure, they probably were briefed about the past history, but I don't think they meant if it's a little tippy tappy foul, call it tech. I think they meant like make sure there's no elbows, make sure that there's no no jawing back and forth. I didn't even see them really talk to each other. I didn't see any trash talk. I didn't see anything that would have made it seem like a tech was warranted. I just think the officials are just trying to do something and stir up some type of controversy. But it was ridiculous. I mean, that was probably one of the worst techs I've seen this year so far.
Guys, two quick comments from Eric Nimchok in regards to Brittany Griner. He says Griner has had trouble all season staying on the floor due to foul trouble, and Dallas has been one of the best teams in the league at drawing fouls. His second point is the free throw discrepancy was more about Phoenix not playing disciplined defense and not keeping Dallas out of the paint more than anything else in his mind. Now, guys, some other reports I had heard post game and early Sunday morning from some loyal sources to the network was apparently Skylar Diggins had made a bit of a minor gripe on Twitter in regards to the Phoenix fan base, Shorty. Again, one of the most loyal and perhaps best fan base in the entire WNBA, but apparently things got a little bit hairy in regards to the fans and the players when the game had ended in triple overtime. A lot of remarks from the crowd, apparently derogatory and obscene, and also some trash talk amongst the fans and players from the Wings. Apparently, though, too, it was kind of provoked though by the Wings players kind of mocking the Phoenix fan base and kind of stabbing the Big Bear, or kind of provoking the Bear. Shorty, we don't. I know that we don't see this a whole lot in the WNBA, but I guess is there any type of reaction or thoughts in regards to players versus fans following the game in Phoenix on Saturday?
I mean, with the whole controversy that happened, with those two, that it was definitely going to be hyped up among players and fans and whatnot. Mostly the fans, because I do think they were a bit, out of control. Phoenix Mercury fans, I mean, what's done is done, now just sort of move on. No, it's okay to just, simply boo, the Wings and things like that. Of course, they're the opposing team, but when you get back into the whole ordeal of the situation and name calling and making obscene gestures to Glory or whatnot, that's when things become out of line. And I definitely, agree with, Skylar's comments about it. I mean, it was just pretty much classless because they were going overboard and it wasn't needed at all.
Crystal, this is the first time I think I've ever, maybe the second time perhaps though, or maybe the first time as well, that I've actually have heard something in regards to any WNBA fan base being out of control. And Diana Taurasi had said this during the 2014 All-Star Game when it was held in Phoenix. Was the Mercury fans probably the only fan base that does not boo the opposing team during introductions. And I actually have can kind of vouch for that because when I was at the game over there in May. against the Mystics. I didn't hear a single boo towards the players on Washington, more so towards the officiating crew than anything else. But this was kind of like that fine line getting crossed, though, in my mind, Crystal, by the fans towards the players more than anything else. And like Shuri said, though, it was probably heat of the moment, though, in regards to the fans kind of getting a little bit rowdy and out of control. But Crystal, where is the fine line, though, when this kind of stuff happens in your mind with you? I guess kind of with you being an ex-player. But where is that fine line drawn, though, between fans and players kind of interacting in the negative way more than anything else?
The fine line is that can you guys still hear me, by the way? The fine line is that a lot of us fans need to realize that these are people as well. These people have families. These people have feelings. These people have people that they go home to, and ultimately probably feel bad that happened to them. And I think a lot of us fans are spoiled. We don't realize that yes, we're watching these tremendous athletes, but that's what they stopped a lot. They're like, oh, they're just athletes, whatever. They could take it. No, not everybody can take things like that. Not everybody has the same feelings. It's just like you have to realize that if these people weren't as talented as they were with whatever sport, they'd just be like me and you. They still technically are like me and you, just with a little bit more talent. I always say this when it comes to celebrities and whoever. They're people. So I think where the line needs to be drawn is you have to realize that if you were in that situation, you wouldn't want anyone to put your personal life out there. You wouldn't want to put your business out there, no matter what it was. And I feel like they just have to be careful. I've heard a couple of things from fans being, in stands. And some of the stuff is just ugly stuff. And you just kind of have to sit back and you're like, how would you feel if someone was saying that to you? I mean, I've heard people talk about people's mothers, people's kids. It's crazy. You have to draw a line. Just keep it about the sport. Keep it about basketball. Don't make it personal.
So with that, folks, and I'll move on to the pretty much marquee game on Sunday, at least. The Lynx now 12-0 after beating the Seattle Storm 96-84, setting up a improbable game on Tuesday. But Shorty, as we think about, as we look back at the game yesterday, again, the Lynx win 96-84. Shorty, final thoughts about the Lynx and their 12th straight win to open the season and still adding on to their record start for the WNBA.
I mean, it was definitely another, big game for the Lynx. I pretty much figured that they would win the game. Really no competition. Even though, the Storm do play hard, and they always seem to have, good battles against the Lynx. However, it was just no competition. I mean, the Storm did start off good. They were up by 3 after the first quarter, but then in the second quarter, my goodness, the Lynx outscored the Storm 30-20, and it was that second quarter that just set the whole tone for everything, and it was just all Lynx after that. Lynx do have a tendency of letting teams come back, so I think the Storm did, finally, make a run in the fourth quarter, but it was just pretty much out of reach since then. And the Lynx are now officially with their best start of the season, 12-0.
Crystal, the Lynx are slowly beginning to remind me of the Harlem Globetrotters, of how they, run up the score. Or you could give anybody pretty much a few point advantage, and the Lynx will still come back and run them into the ground. And what we've seen, though, it's like as Shorty said. They do kind of lapse. That's like the Globetrotters lapsing towards the end of the game to kind of make the score more respectable for their games when they come to your city. But again, Crystal, what are your final thoughts here? Minnesota now 12-0 in the season, setting up again the big matchup on Tuesday.
When it comes to the laps, it seems like every game. Like I said, LA has laps too. But every game I see the Lynx play, there is something. But the thing is, a lot of these teams, I don't feel like have enough power to stop them. Because most of the time, if you watch the games, for the most part, like we said, respectively, Simone Augustus is getting up there in age. Lindsay Whalen hasn't been playing the same. So pretty much it's been more Montgomery. Sometimes Gia Perkins, but mostly Fowles, Montgomery, and Moore. So my thing is like, if they have somebody who can stop those three mainly, and kind of, yes, keep an eye on Simone Augustus because she's not an all-star for no reason. She's not an Olympian for no reason. But if you could just keep your eyes on the big three, I feel like they can be beat. I mean, the Lynx are beatable. They've had games where like Seattle, like Shorty said, at the beginning of that Seattle game, I kind of was shaking my head a little bit. Like if Seattle beats, Minnesota before LA can get a chance to try it, this is gonna be something. They're gonna like Seattle can't take all the fun away from LA. Like that's something we want to see. But I mean, it's gonna be, either way, it's gonna be a good game. I think LA can hold. I think LA can ultimately be the closest team to give them a good challenge. Not saying that they haven't been challenged yet, because Indiana gave them a challenge a little bit, but I think LA can give them a challenge all the way through the whole game, as long as they don't take defensive laps like LA normally does. Because sometimes LA wants to make you want to pull my braids out, but it's if LA can hold on to them defensively for a good enough time, I think it could be a really good game. I think LA could pull it off, but I mean, hey, these two teams are unbeaten for a reason. This is ultimately, like the two best teams in the league. I just can't wait to see how it all unfolds tomorrow.
Again, Marquez, Minnesota now 12-0, again, the best start in WNBA history, now 12-0 to begin the season. Marquez, final takeaway again from the Lynx winning again yesterday. All right, so Marquez is having some minor problems, folks. We'll hopefully get back to him sometime soon. So that does, folks, actually now bring us now to the main event of the WNBA season. Bigger than the first game between the Lynx and Mercury. This is the battle of the unbeaten behemoths. It will be Minnesota and LA mano a mano tomorrow, 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific time on NBA TV and Time Warner Cable Sports and Time Warner Cable. Deport this. A quick history fact for you folks. This is the first time in any U.S. pro sport or any pro sport played at the major league level in North America. That includes Major League Baseball, the NFL, the NBA, the NHL, and MLS. That the two teams coming in are both unbeaten at 10 or more wins, and also again the fact that this is the first time ever that both teams will enter the game with no losses of any type on their overall record this season. By the way, guys, a couple of comments from Todd Mintz real quick about the game yesterday. He said Seattle got off to a 10-point lead. Bird and Clark were hot early, and then as always, Minnesota comes back. Fowles just rolled to the basket and scored one layup after another. Seattle had no answer at center, and also says that Lindsey Whalen, he thought, played very well yesterday. It is always someone that contributes. McCarville is unsung on that team. She can hit the jumper and play D, and is a great backup for Fowles at the center position. So again, folks, Lynx and Sparks, 12-0 versus 11-0. It'll be the battle of the unbeaten behemoths, the first of a week-long home-and-home series, folks. Keep that in mind. LA, Minnesota from Staples tomorrow on Tuesday, and then Lynx Sparks on Friday from the Target Center in Minneapolis. So, Shorty, again, this is the first time ever in pro sports that we will have two teams with 10 or more wins being both unbeaten with no losses or overtime or ties on their record in any sport played in the U.S. or, for that matter, in North America. So, Shorty, before we get to anything about the game, what does this matchup in your mind mean for the WNBA?
Oh my goodness! I think this matchup is historic, and the funniest thing is that it wasn't meant to be historic, but just things played out, differently, and now we're seeing, history being made by both teams. Lynx 12-0, LA 11-0. They are probably the biggest surprise out of the two teams because, of course, the Lynx are the defending champions, so we knew that they can go on winning streaks of this caliber. Maybe not, predicting 12-0, but we know that they can go on streaks. But LA is the biggest surprise here, so it's definitely going to be interesting, to see both teams. And I mean, it's hard to predict, which team will win on Tuesday because I'm looking at all the stats right now, comparable to both teams, and they are so evenly matched. Maybe they have a few stats where one might be better than the other, but not by a big margin. So it's definitely interesting to see what happens. But one point that I do bring up is when it comes to head-to-head matchups. Head-to-head matchups, versus versus home and away for the two teams. Now for the Sparks and the Lynx, especially at Staples Center. Okay, so the matchup, Sparks own the Lynx overall, a 41-23 matchup overall against the Lynx. The Sparks overall are 25-7 against the Lynx at Staples. So from that number, you can tell that the Lynx do not have, a good, run at Staples. And then Sparks away at Target Center versus the Lynx, they are tied at 16-16. So it definitely be interesting to see. So I overall, given my short prediction, I think the Sparks will win at Staples Center, but at Target Center, it'll definitely be interesting because even though the score is tied at 16-16, however, the Lynx are, the best team at home. So Sparks will, take the matchup on Tuesday at Staples Center. Lynx will get the revenge at Target Center on Friday.
Crystal, that was the thing that you and I were actually talking about earlier on last week was the feeling that this could be a series that will be split amongst the two buildings, both LA winning perhaps tomorrow at Staples Center and then Lynx holding home court at Target Center on Friday. But again, Crystal, with both teams coming in unbeaten again, Minnesota 12-0, LA 11-0, that's a combined record of 23-0 so far for both teams as a combined whole. Crystal, what are your thoughts, though, again, about this historic matchup, again, in a game that I believe is going to be bigger than Minnesota, Phoenix from opening night on May 14th?
Woo, man. My stomach is just in knots thinking about it. I'm nervous, but I do think that the series could ultimately be split. I think they will split the series. Oh man, I think we're looking at a finals preview too. By the way, with the new format that everything is going on, but I'm nervous. Like I feel like I'm about to play tomorrow. Like it's so crazy that we're witnessing history, and I'm just lucky tomorrow that I'm actually able to go see it firsthand. So I'm gonna have a heart attack tomorrow. Y'all gonna see me on the show probably late night tomorrow. And I'm not even gonna look like myself. I'm gonna be pale. I'm gonna have no hair. I'm gonna be bald like Marquez over there. I'm gonna be just looking all sorts of crazy. It's just not gonna be a good look for me. But I do believe that LA could pull this off. I do think that they can split. Like I feel like they will split the series. Man, I just can't wait. This is gonna be a good one, man. I'm excited. I'm excited. I don't know. I'm just at a loss of words. I'm excited. I don't know what to say. I'm excited, nervous, but I think LA will be okay. I think they can pull it off. But yeah, ultimately, I think this will be a split series. I can see that happening.
Now, Shorty, the biggest gripe so far, and I kind of agree with this one in regards to the biggest gripe being the start time of this game. Again, folks, this is a 12:30 Pacific tip-off, 3:30 Eastern. Again, due to this being one of the regular scheduled LA day games of the season, and also, Shorty, I highly doubt that people thought this would be a matchup of unbeaten teams in regards to both LA and Minnesota carrying these long mammoth winning streaks. But again, Shorty, that's probably the one downfall or one negative side effect or the one bad apple in the mixture or in the pot is the fact that this is a 12:30 game time on the West Coast, 3:30 Eastern. It is on NBA TV, but again, Shorty, that's probably like the only downfall of this matchup. Maybe they could have worked on rescheduling the game for 7:30 at night, perhaps, or something to kind of better put this game on national television or on a bigger stage. But apparently, Shorty, that won't be happening, of course. Due to the game already being scheduled at 12:30, but Shorty, is that probably like the one big downfall for the WNBA? Is you have the two unbeaten teams playing a mid-afternoon game, in downtown Los Angeles, and that really pretty much nobody's going to be able to watch it on television due to being at work or in school.
I definitely agree, but to be fair to the WNBA and even the national broadcasting over at ESPN, I mean, no one knew. They didn't know that LA would be undefeated at this point. The Lynx would be undefeated at this point, and all know all schedules and broadcasting national TV schedules and things of that nature are already predetermined. So just no one knew, and they ESPN scheduled Dallas and Phoenix at that time, trying to broadcast, exploit the matchup between Brittany Griner and Lori Johnson. Yes, that's exactly what they're doing, exploiting the both of them for ratings, sadly. But I mean, again, no one knew that these two teams would have uh, league best starts. Being undefeated. The way that they are. So, I mean, no one knew at this. No one knew, before then. But yes, this is a early matinee camp game. So, I think it's still going to be exciting to watch. But yes, it won't have much flair as in regards to the fans because not many will be around to see it.
Crystal, Shorty got it right, and that's my biggest gripe, though, too, is here is ESPN, being thirsty for ratings and being thirsty for attention. Again, scheduling the Dallas Phoenix game, earlier in the year for ESPN to see, to really show off, I guess, if there's going to be any type of retribution between Glory Johnson and Brittany Griner. And we saw how they were on Saturday. They didn't talk to each other, and nothing, out of the ordinary happened in this case. I know that they wanted to put this matchup on television, but in this case, if the NFL can flex out a 4-12 Chargers team out of a Sunday Night Football game for a game involving Carolina and Arizona in the NFL season, they could have easily done the same exact thing, was move the Dallas game or the Phoenix and Dallas game off of ESPN2 and flex the Minnesota-LA game to a 7 o'clock time slot, perhaps. I know that this was already predetermined stuff, but I think that if you were to pretty much evaluate the situation, if ESPN thinks for 1 second that a Dallas Phoenix game, involving Johnson and Griner is going to have some type of NHL Stanley Cup Final hockey brawl, and they want to have that on ratings, then they need to look themselves in the mirror and say maybe we should have put this Minnesota LA game on, regardless if it was going to be the unbeaten matchup, because this is just an instance of ESPN being thirsty for television ratings for the WNBA, which, I get that they want to help improve it, but this is not helping improve it by not showing the best two teams in the entire league as opposed to showing two teams that are right now middle of the road. Crystal, what are your thoughts, though, again, about, the biggest gripe, again, being the 12:30 start time affecting this game between these two unbeaten teams?
Well, you know what? I will say at least it is still on NBA TV. That I guess that's a good thing, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if ESPN could have scrapped it because of the early start time, because maybe they were like, oh, we're gonna clear out this time specifically for something else while we can clear out time later for the the Wings game. But I agree that ESPN just wants us to hold on to our wigs because they want drama to come. They want us to hold on to our lace fronts and stuff. But honestly, I feel like the Wings game would make me want to hold on to my wig more. I mean, I'm sorry, not the Wings game. The Sparks and Lynx game would make me want to hold on to my wigs more because, like I said, I'm nervous. I'm so nervous for that game. I feel like I'm probably gonna need to take like something for my stomach before I go and watch the game. Like y'all have no idea. Like it's gonna be heart attack central when I walk. As soon as I get there, like I'm gonna have to take deep breaths, breathe in, breathe out. Like I'm gonna feel like I'm out there in the layup line and everything. It's just gonna be so much. It's gonna be fun to watch because it's history, but at the same time, this is real life. This is really happening, y'all. Like two unbeaten teams. One of us is our favorite team. The other one is the Minnesota Sausage Lynx. And I like Minnesota, so don't take that lightly. I think Minnesota is a good team, just not when they're playing LA. But this is really happening. Two unbeaten teams, history being made. I mean, it's just amazing. Like you're watching two teams just that nobody would think would be undefeated and play as well they are, and they are. And I'm just excited. I can't wait. I don't know if anybody can tell, but I can't wait. And I'm just kidding. I do like the Lynx, but again, not when they play LA. But I'm excited.
My recommendation, take a line. It works perfectly for your digestive system, Chris. I take it every morning. It works like a charm. So that's what you need if your stomach's going to be in knots. But again, Marquez, this, like I said, this has been the biggest gripe, I think, all of last week, and then mainly over the weekend, especially yesterday, Marquez, in regards to this game again. I know it was a 12:30 game, but again, Marcus, I at least I've seen it, and again, I hate bringing up other pro sports leagues, folks. I really do regret in doing this, but again, Marquez, if they can take off, if they can move a Chargers game that was supposed to be on NBC last NFL season with them having a terrible record, and then moving other games, either with ESPN moving baseball games out of prime time on Sunday nights for their MLB coverage, this could have been something where maybe they could have flip-flopped networks. They could have put the Dallas game at 5 o'clock on NBA TV and either, change the start time for Minnesota, Los Angeles, or put the game on ESPN2 at 12:30. It really would have made much difference. But again, Marquez, I think, though, as well, what we already touched base on, though, dude, is probably ESPN being a little bit thirsty for attention because if they have the BG Glory Johnson round 2 coming up on their schedule for tomorrow, and not a battle of two teams that again do have a sports history on their side, again, with the first time ever in any sport played that they have two teams with no losses of any type on their overall records. So, Marquez, in your mind, though, is this still a pretty big gripe, though, in regards that this game, again, is still at 12:30 in the afternoon on Tuesday afternoon from downtown L.A.?
Okay, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, it's all good in the hood. Okay. Well, yeah, I think it should have been switched, or at least they could have tried to do something, because, I mean, the description and everything sports-related is subject to change, so it's possible things could have changed. But, yeah, I just think ESPN wanted the Glory Griner thing on again because, I mean, the first matchup, it worked. If that's what everybody was talking about, unfortunately, instead of the game. And the backlash after the game, whether it was Glory's Twitter or Instagram or Grinders, it was just a big blow up from everyone, and it seemed like from people that didn't even watch. They were just only tuning in because they know of what happened, which was sad in itself. But I just feel like when you have the two best teams record-wise and probably just in general playing, that should be on.
Yeah, no, we all agree here, and I think a lot of you fans out there would even agree as well, because I think that, I mean, I kind of hate to be negative Nancy, folks, but again, we already saw round 1 between Glory Johnson and Brittany Griner. Nothing transpired out of it, and I know that ESPN, kind of wanted, wanted to put this game on television, but again, I know that we can't predict the future, folks, but again, I just don't see the logic behind putting on, a game of pretty much no meaning in regards to, a personal blow-up that is not going to happen. I mean, we didn't see anything happen in Game 1, nor do I think Game 2 is going to have anything, nor will their third matchup have anything in regards to whatever ESPN or any, non-WNBA or women's basketball haters out there. If they want to see a cat fight, they can, watch, UFC whenever it comes on again and watch Jessica fight somebody, and because it's not going to happen between Johnson and Griner anytime soon. But again, as Marquez said, here, Crystal, every sports team that puts up a schedule always says all times are such and such, schedule subject to change. And Crystal, this could have been an easy thing to do, was either flip-flop networks or in all cases move the game to a more convenient start time for everybody to watch this game on television. But again, Crystal, is there any final thoughts you want to pass along in regards to, again, the gripe between the start time and start times of these two games coming up tomorrow?
I mean, I think everything, that we could complain about has been said, but like I said, man, I'm just getting more and more nervous. I feel like a kid that is on their first day of school and try to pick out the really fly outfit, and you try to figure out like who's the cool team. That's how I feel right now. This is, I don't know, this is like really happening, guys. I feel like this is my early Christmas present for myself. But yeah, I mean, I can't wait to see how everything turns out tomorrow. I'm just excited. Let's get excited. Let's clap.
So with that, folks, now move on now and get the rest of the rest of the games for tomorrow. Again, there's two other games of more, or there's 3 games, but a few more of other importance than just us ranting and raving about Lynx and Sparks. Chicago will host San Antonio on ESPN3 at 5 o'clock, and as we've already brought up again, Mercury and Wings at 5 o'clock on ESPN2. Shorty will now go around the perimeter here and get everyone's take and predictions. Shorty, Lynx and Sparks, 12:30 Pacific, 3:30 Eastern on NBA TV and TWCSN. Who you got?
Will be close, but final result, Sparks.
One vote for Los Angeles. Crystal, you're going to be there tomorrow. Who you got?
You already know who I'm picking. I'm picking the Minnesota. No, I'm just playing. I'm picking the Sparks. I'm picking the Sparks. I I do think this series will be split. Oh, did I log? Oh, that was not me. That was Mark. Wait, am I still here?
Yes, you're good.
Oh, okay. I heard something. I'm sorry.
Yikes.
That was so weird. But I do think LA is going to win this game. I do ultimately think the series will be split. But yeah, I gotta go with my team, man. I gotta go with LA. I feel it in my gut. Don't let me down, LA. Don't let me down.
2 votes for Los Angeles. Marquez, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with LA this time.
Oh, this time.
You know, guys, if anyone saw the rankings again, we put the rankings up for the for Week 5 again, and from what I've seen, guys, this matchup, as we said, is so evenly matched. It's almost like the balances could tip either way. But I'm sure you guys, I'm going to go with the split. I think that LA takes tomorrow's game. It won't be a lot. It may be a 1-point game if they grind out at the very end or just grind out in general for the 1-point victory. And then Minnesota holds home court and wins at Target Center on Friday. That's my observation and thoughts. But all of us here are going with LA. And also, guys, real quick, Todd Mintz says on this, he says in his mind, frankly, both Dallas and Phoenix and Minnesota LA should both be on ESPN2. Shorty, do you agree?
I do agree.
Crystal, what about you?
I definitely agree. Like I said, tomorrow's just gonna be the game of who can hold their wigs the longest. They want something to go down with Dallas. I don't think anything's gonna happen in Dallas. I mean, I don't know if anyone's seen Gloria Johnson sent out a pretty classy message. It was like, hey, Dallas fans, don't stoop to the Phoenix fans level. So I'm expecting to be really classy. I don't think anything's gonna happen, but tomorrow is the hold your wigs day. So everybody who got lace fronts and wigs, be careful. You better hold them, because they will be a flying tomorrow.
We will do what they used to do at UC Santa Barbara basketball games. Instead of throwing tortillas on the floor, Crystal, we'll throw wigs out there just for you. Marquez, what do you think though? Should both of these games be should both of these games in your mind be on ESPN2? Both LA, Minnesota, and PHX Dallas.
Oh yeah, they both are gonna be really good games, and I just feel like the opportunity presented itself. Those 2 games should be on because, like I said, they're gonna be really good, especially considering one of them is featuring 2 undefeateds, and the other one is, it's just going to be a good game. It went to 3 overtimes. Could happen again.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens, but I personally prefer a game of more meaning, more so than something that would happen on TMZ in regards to people fighting and stuff like that. So we'll just go with Minnesota, LA over Dallas and Phoenix on ESPN2, at least in my opinion. Shorty, the other game to get to, Stars and Sky on ESPN3 from the Allstate Arena in Rosemont, Illinois. Shorty, who you got, Stars or Sky?
I'm going with the Chicago Sky. I know the look, Marquez. In their first meeting or so, the Stars really did, take it to Chicago. Of course, Chicago was without Vandersloot, even though I don't know if that can be used as an excuse or not, but they didn't have Sloot, and the Stars pretty much took advantage of them. But now with Sloot, back in the fold, I think the Sky will be definitely ready for revenge, and I ultimately going with Chicago.
One vote for the Sky holding home court from Rosemont. KT, how about you?
Listen. Unless Mo Curry can drop 13 again, MVP Mo is not coming out on top. But at the same time, I will say though, Chicago they're a little eh. So I'm gonna say Chicago, but my thing, I'm gonna put a question mark at the end of that Chicago. Because, if San Antonio goes on a really good run, and if they could get Kayla McBride to play well like she did, what game was that? I think it was against Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if they can put off a performance like that and win this time for Marquez's sake, then I think they could pull it off. But if Chicago can play really fluid basketball, then they're taking that game. So I will say Chicago with the question mark.
Crystal, you know if you were on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, you only get 3 lifelines right. You've had more than 3 question marks at the end of your predictions lately, so I don't know if we can keep going with this question mark nonsense.
I was gonna
Marquez,
say
how about
that.
you?
Okay. There's a lot of moving parts to this game, I feel, because the first meeting, Vernusu was out, so I think that can kind of be used as an excuse because she is their leader when it comes to like setting people up, and it really, I don't want to call it luck, but it really took a lot of energy and effort to beat Chicago without her, and I think we only won by 1. But if we've had like 2 straight games that were productive from our young trio of Jefferson, McBride, and Hamby, and then Mo Curry stepped up as of late. So I think if those 4 can continue what they've been doing like the past 2 or 3 games, then we'll have a chance. But the biggest thing is gonna be getting production from our bench. If we don't get production from our bench, then Chicago is probably going to like wipe the floor with us. But I'm gonna pick Chicago, but like with a couple question marks too.
Yeah, you two both are earning out a lifeline, so we have to start keeping track of how many question marks you guys use. I'm going to pick Chicago to hold home court down in Rosemont. Then, of course, for the other game that we've already talked about, but again, Merck and Wings, 5 o'clock, 8 o'clock, ESPN2 from College Park Center in Arlington. Shorty, who you got?
I'm going with Dallas again. I mean, even though they're sort of, evenly matched, in almost, nearly every category, it's just Phoenix. I mean, they are the worst out of the 2. They can't seem to get anything going. I mean, no defense, just they're just all over the place, and I think they have much more issues to work out, with their own team instead of Dallas. I think Dallas is coming together, especially with the emergence of Skylar Diggins. So I don't know if it'll go into triple overtime again, but I'm going to pick Dallas.
Just remember, folks, the Wings promised coffee for the Mercury on Twitter if this game does go to triple overtime in Dallas or in Arlington tomorrow. So, KT, 1 vote for Pegasus the horse. How about you?
I went with Dallas last time. I want to pick them again, but I'm going to say Dallas, but I think Phoenix will make it a little bit more interesting. I mean, you can't make 3 overtimes not interesting enough, but I think I'm going to say Dallas, but I can see Phoenix taking it.
With a question mark?
With a question mark. There you go. Dallas with a question mark. Dallas
Okay,
with a question mark.
That's 2 question marks you've used this evening already. Marquez, how about you?
I'm gonna go with Dallas because I'm mad with Phoenix. They had their chance and they got their wig snatched on TV, so I think I'm just gonna say Dallas this game.
All right, so Crystal has a question mark again on Phoenix. We have 2 with Dallas. I'm putting up an O. No X for me. I'm putting a block in the. I'm blocking somebody in the tic-tac-toe column. Give me a no. I think Dallas wins this one at home. So I've got all 3 home teams winning tomorrow. So sorry, no X today. Only an O for those folks out there keeping score on the tic-tac-toe board. Because guys, I think that like I said, Phoenix blew a 17-point lead at home on Saturday night in their own building. Whether it was with the 4 players fouling out, though, but I think that. Perhaps for Dallas, this is probably a confidence boost, I'd say, of some sorts, getting themselves back off the ground after a couple of losing skids. And Phoenix has so many problems. They're so discombobulated, guys. I really don't know what is wrong. And I've said this, though, a couple times already, is that Phoenix is that, you can't really dissect or digest all the problems that they have right now. And as Crystal said, though, guys, there is definitely something wrong in that locker room right now, whether it's, some player, whether it's been the players, the bench, what have you. There's something there in regards to it being a very negative side effect right now on this Phoenix team. Either it's been the defensive lapses or just blowing leads incrementally like we saw in that triple overtime loss. They let Dallas hang around all game, and of course, well, guys, the big talking point though for me has been the Mercury and the foul trouble. Again, they had 4 players, 4 of them fouled out of the game in some instance, either the 4th quarter, the 1st overtime, the 2nd overtime, or the 3rd overtime. On Friday, if they can cut down on their fouls, they may have a chance. But I'm going to pick Dallas over the Mercury on tomorrow night. Todd says, in regards to Phoenix, he says Phoenix has a lot of problems. He thinks the record for them is not a fluke. Dallas has won 2 in a row. Skylar plays like the last game, they are hard to beat in his mind. But with that, though, folks, we will rejoin you folks here again probably tomorrow night back here again. We're kind of up in the air because we got a lot going on this week, or we do just in general. But again, folks, once more again, Lynx and Sparks, the battle of unbeaten behemoths, 23-0 combined record, Minnesota 12-0, LA 11-0. 12:30 Pacific, 3:30 Eastern on NBA TV or Time Warner Cable Sportsnet. Stars and Sky, 5 o'clock, 8 o'clock on ESPN3. And Merc and Wings, 5 o'clock, 8 o'clock on ESPN2. With that, folks, for Crystal Thomas and Tanisha Stewart, both up in Los Angeles, and for our good buddy Marquez Anderson from the Project Spurs Network, this is Cal McClurg signing off. Until tomorrow night, folks, enjoy the action. I'll see you folks right back here tomorrow night for more coverage. Then, folks, good night, and see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.